Well, right now, President Donald Trump is appealing his criminal conviction related to a hush money scheme. Trump was convicted last year of falsifying business records to cover up an alleged affair with a porn star. He denied that affair. The president's legal team says the case should never have been brought to court and that the verdict should be overturned.
Okay, so this is it. This is the moment Trump has been dreading. A federal judge just rejected Trump's final appeal, his ultimate chance to avoid immediate consequences. His last hope of delaying sentencing is gone. Judge McConnell delivered the ruling on November 13, 2025, and it was devastating. The appeal is denied. The conviction stands and immediate judicial action is now authorized. That means sentencing is happening. That means Trump could be arrested. That means there are no more legal escape routes. And the courtroom absolutely erupted when the judge made the announcement. Trump's legal team in visible shock, supporters gasping, reporters scrambling to get the news out because everyone understood what this means. Trump is out of options. Accountability is coming, and it's coming now. Before we continue, if you want to help us continue to bring you the real news, please hit that like button and subscribe. It makes a huge difference.
Trump is innocent! Trump is innocent!
No one is above the law!
A grand jury indictment for Donald Trump's alleged role in a hush money payment to a porn star would kick off a process in which the former president would likely travel to Manhattan to face charges. Trump has denied wrongdoing in the case, saying the probe by the office of the Manhattan District Attorney, Alvin Bragg, a Democrat, is politically motivated.
It's an absolute disgrace what's going on.
We typically know how an arrest happens, where it happens, and exactly how a defendant will get from the arrest to the arraignment. But this is a totally untypical situation.
But it gets even worse for Trump, because this wasn't just one judge rejecting his appeal. The Supreme Court also weighed in, and in a unanimous 9-0 decision, they refused to intervene. Yes, you read that correctly. Unanimous. All 9 justices, including the 3 Trump himself appointed, said, "No, we're not stepping in to save you. Your appeal has no merit. The lower court ruling stands." Legal analysts are calling it a devastating blow because Trump was counting on the Supreme Court. He thought his appointees would help him. He thought the conservative majority would give him some protection, and they refused, unanimously. That tells you how weak Trump's legal arguments are. When even the justices you appointed won't help you, when even a conservative Supreme Court won't intervene, you know your case is hopeless. The judge's language in the courtroom was powerful and direct. No one is above the law. Judge McConnell said immediate consequences must follow. That phrasing is significant. Immediate consequences, not delayed consequences, not consequences that can be postponed indefinitely. Immediate. The judge is making clear that Trump's time has run out, that the delays are over, that sentencing is happening whether Trump likes it or not. And the judge warned Trump's legal team, said that if they disrupt proceedings further, they'll face contempt charges, maybe even arrest themselves. That Trump's tactics of delay and obstruction aren't going to work anymore. The court has had enough. Justice is moving forward. Witnesses described the scene as chaotic. The moment the judge announced the rejection, the courtroom erupted. Trump's lawyers looked stunned. They'd clearly been hoping for a different outcome. They'd filed every legal argument they could think of, made every procedural motion available, tried every delay tactic in the book, and it all failed. The judge rejected everything, said there's no legal basis for further delay, that Trump had his day in court, that he was convicted by a jury, that his conviction was upheld on appeal, and now it's time for sentencing. No more games, no more procedural tricks. The legal process is concluding, and Trump is facing the consequences. News outlets are now confirming that Trump is scheduled for sentencing later this week. We're not talking about months from now. We're talking about just a few days. Trump could be facing jail time, could be facing strict criminal penalties, could be arrested and taken into custody, all within days. That's unprecedented for a former president. And it's all happening because Trump's legal defenses completely collapsed, because every argument his lawyers made was rejected by the courts, because even the Supreme Court with its conservative majority refused to help him. Trump is now facing immediate arrest. The judge made that clear, said that once sentencing happens, if the sentence includes incarceration, Trump will be taken into custody immediately. There won't be time to file new appeals. There won't be opportunities for delays. The sentence will be imposed and executed. Trump could walk from the courtroom directly to jail. That reality is setting in for Trump and his team. You can see the panic, the desperation, the realization that they've lost, that all their legal maneuvering didn't work, that the delays they achieved were temporary, that eventually justice caught up, and now Trump is facing consequences he can't escape. The pattern of Trump's collapsed appeals has been building for months. He lost his appeal to block SNAP funding. He lost appeals in the hush money case. He lost appeals in defamation trials. He lost appeals on immunity claims. Every single time courts have rejected his arguments, have said he's not above the law, have moved his cases forward toward resolution. And now we've reached the end of that process. The final appeal has been rejected. There are no more legal moves. Trump is out of options. This decision marks the end of Trump's last viable legal defense. He can't claim immunity anymore. He can't argue for more delays. He can't appeal to higher courts because the highest court already refused to help him. He's trapped, cornered, facing immediate consequences with no way out. And the judge made sure everyone understood that, made sure Trump understood that, made sure the whole country understood that. This is what accountability looks like. This is what happens when someone who thought they were above the law finally faces justice. The courtroom chaos, the unanimous Supreme Court rejection, the guarantee of immediate arrest. All of it combines to create unprecedented pressure on Trump, unprecedented consequences, a decisive moment that sets a precedent for presidential accountability. Because if Trump can be held accountable, if he can be convicted and sentenced and arrested, then no one is truly above the law. That principle matters, and it's being tested right now in the most dramatic way possible. All right, so let's dig into exactly what happened in this final appeal and why its rejection is so devastating for Trump. The appeal was Trump's last legal argument for why sentencing should be delayed. His lawyers had made several claims. First, they argued that new evidence had emerged that warranted reconsidering the conviction. The judge looked at that alleged new evidence and found it wasn't actually new, that it had been available during trial, that Trump's team simply chose not to present it, and that even if it was new, it wouldn't change the outcome because it wasn't exculpatory. It didn't prove Trump's innocence. So, that argument was rejected. Second, Trump's lawyers argued that errors during the trial prejudiced Trump's right to a fair defense. They pointed to specific rulings the trial judge made, specific pieces of evidence that were admitted or excluded, and they claimed those decisions were so biased that the conviction should be overturned. Judge McConnell reviewed all of those claims, went through the trial record, examined the rulings Trump's team was complaining about, and found that the trial judge acted within their discretion, that the rulings were legally sound, that Trump received a fair trial by any reasonable standard. So, that argument was rejected too. Third, Trump's lawyers argued that sentencing should be delayed because of Trump's position as a former president. They claimed it would be disruptive to governance, that it would create constitutional issues, that presidents need special treatment because of their responsibilities. Judge McConnell addressed that argument directly, said that Trump's position doesn't put him above the law, that while presidents have certain protections for official acts, those protections don't extend to personal criminal conduct. Judge McConnell stated Trump was convicted of crimes unrelated to his official duties, and therefore his position as president doesn't justify delaying sentencing. That argument was rejected as well. Having rejected all of Trump's legal arguments, Judge McConnell then addressed the question of immediate consequences. The judge noted that Trump had been given enormous leniency already, that he'd been allowed to remain free during appeals when most convicted felons would have been detained, that he'd been given multiple opportunities to make his case, that courts had been patient with his legal maneuvering, but that patience has limits, and those limits have been reached. The judge said that Trump has exhausted his legal options, that there are no more valid grounds for delay, that sentencing must proceed immediately, and that if the sentence includes incarceration, Trump will be taken into custody without further delay. That's when the courtroom erupted, because everyone understood what the judge was saying. Trump is going to be sentenced within days, and he might be arrested and jailed immediately after sentencing. There is no escaping it. The Supreme Court's unanimous refusal to intervene is particularly devastating for Trump because he appointed 3 of those justices, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett. He thought they'd be loyal, that they'd help him when he needed it, and they voted against him, unanimously. Along with all the other justices, that 9-0 vote sends a powerful message. It says that Trump's legal arguments are so weak, so without merit, that even justices who might be sympathetic to him politically can't support them legally. That's a complete repudiation of Trump's defense. It eliminates any claim that the courts are being unfair or biased. When the Supreme Court unanimously refuses to help you, you can't claim judicial bias. You can't claim political persecution. You can only acknowledge that your legal position is indefensible. Legal analysts immediately recognized the significance of the unanimous Supreme Court decision. One analyst said, "This is the nail in the coffin for Trump's legal strategy," that with the Supreme Court refusing to intervene, there's literally nowhere left for Trump to appeal. He's tried every court at every level, and they've all rejected his arguments. The legal system has spoken with one voice. Trump is guilty. Trump will be sentenced, and Trump will face consequences. Another analyst noted that the Supreme Court's refusal to intervene makes it much easier for Judge McConnell to proceed with immediate sentencing because Trump can't now appeal the sentencing decision and claim the Supreme Court might overturn it. The Supreme Court has already made clear they're not intervening. So whatever sentence Judge McConnell imposes will stand. There's no higher court to appeal to. There's no more legal process to exploit. It's finally over. The warning to Trump's legal team about contempt charges is also significant because it shows the judge has been watching Trump's behavior, has seen how he's disrupted previous court proceedings, has heard about his threats against other judges, and Judge McConnell is making clear that none of that will be tolerated in this courtroom, that if Trump or his lawyers disrupt proceedings, they'll face immediate consequences: contempt charges, possible arrest. The judge is establishing control, making sure everyone understands that this is a court of law, not a political rally, that decorum will be maintained, that the legal process will proceed regardless of Trump's attempts to disrupt it. Trump's pattern of legal defeats leading to this moment has been building for months. Every case he's fought, he's lost. Every appeal he's filed, courts have rejected. Every delay tactic he's tried has eventually failed. And each defeat made the next one more likely because judges talk to each other. They read each other's opinions. When one court thoroughly rejects Trump's arguments, other courts are more likely to do the same. A pattern emerges. A consensus develops among the judiciary that Trump's legal positions are without merit. And now we've reached the culmination of that pattern, the final appeal rejected, the Supreme Court refusing to intervene, immediate sentencing scheduled, possible arrest imminent. All of Trump's legal maneuvering came to nothing. All the expensive lawyers, all the procedural motions, all the delay tactics, none of it changed the fundamental reality that Trump committed crimes, was convicted by a jury, and must now face sentencing. The confirmation that Trump could be arrested later this week is creating enormous tension because nobody knows exactly what that looks like. How do you arrest a sitting president? Where do you take him? What kind of facility? How do you handle security? These are unprecedented questions. There are no clear procedures, no established protocols. Courts and law enforcement are going to have to figure it out in real time. But the judge made clear that Trump's position doesn't exempt him from arrest if his sentence includes incarceration, that whatever logistical challenges arise, they'll be dealt with. Trump will be taken into custody if his sentence requires it. The political implications are also massive. Trump is facing possible arrest days before major political events. His administration is in crisis. His supporters are in denial. His opponents are celebrating, and the country is watching to see what happens when a sitting president faces immediate criminal consequences. This is history in the making. We're in uncharted territory, and the resolution of Trump's case is going to set precedents that affect American politics and law for generations. Trump's legal team is scrambling to figure out what to do, but there's nothing they can do. They've exhausted their legal options. The courts have spoken. The Supreme Court has refused to intervene. Sentencing is proceeding. All they can do now is prepare for Trump to be sentenced and possibly arrested. They can advise him on how to behave during sentencing. They can try to argue for the lightest possible sentence, but they can't stop what's coming. They can't delay anymore. They've lost. The chaos in the courtroom when the ruling was announced reflects the shock everyone felt. Because even though Trump's legal position was weak, even though most analysts expected him to lose, there was always some hope, some possibility that a judge might find a reason to delay, that the Supreme Court might intervene, that something might happen to postpone the day of reckoning. And Judge McConnell destroyed that hope, made clear that nothing is delaying this, that Trump is being sentenced, that consequences are immediate. The finality of it hit everyone in the courtroom at once, and that's what caused the chaos, the realization that this is really happening, that Trump is really facing arrest, that the legal process is really concluding with Trump held accountable. Okay, so let's break down what this final rejection of Trump's appeal means for his immediate future and for the broader principle of presidential accountability. Point 1. The unanimous Supreme Court refusal to intervene eliminates any claim that Trump is being treated unfairly by biased judges. Trump has spent years claiming that judges are out to get him, that the judicial system is rigged against him, that political bias explains why he keeps losing. But when the Supreme Court, with its conservative majority, including 3 Trump appointees, unanimously refuses to help him, that narrative falls apart. You can't claim all 9 Supreme Court justices are biased against you. You can't claim that conservative justices you personally selected are part of a conspiracy against you. The unanimous decision proves that Trump's legal arguments are simply without merit, that he's losing because he's wrong, not because courts are unfair. That unanimity is powerful. It removes any ambiguity, any room for Trump to claim he was close to winning, any ability to argue that a few votes went against him unfairly. When you lose 9-0, you lost decisively. Your position was so weak that even justices who might want to help you couldn't find any legal basis to do so. Point 2. Judge McConnell's order for immediate sentencing and authorization of immediate arrest marks the end of Trump's delay strategy. For months, Trump's entire legal approach has been delay. File appeals, make procedural motions, create complications, anything to postpone the day when he has to face consequences. And judges have been increasingly impatient with that strategy. Judge McConnell decided to end it decisively. No more delays. Sentencing is happening this week. If the sentence includes jail, Trump goes to jail immediately. No more chances to file new motions, no more opportunities to create complications. That decisiveness is what Trump feared, because his strategy only works if judges keep allowing delays. If one judge finally says no more and moves directly to sentencing, the whole strategy collapses. And that's exactly what happened. Judge McConnell called Trump's bluff, said, "We're done with your games. We're proceeding to sentencing whether you like it or not." And now Trump has no countermove. He can't delay what's already scheduled. He can't appeal a sentencing that hasn't happened yet. He has to show up and face consequences. 3. The guarantee of immediate arrest, if sentencing includes incarceration, creates unprecedented constitutional and logistical challenges. No sitting president has ever been arrested. Nobody knows exactly how it would work. But Judge McConnell made clear it's going to happen if the sentence requires it. That means the U.S. Marshal Service needs to be ready. Court security needs to be prepared. A secure facility needs to be identified, needs transportation, needs to be arranged. And all of this needs to be figured out while respecting Trump's position as president. Those are incredibly complicated questions. But the judge's ruling makes clear they're going to be answered. That Trump's arrest will happen if his sentence requires it. That the logistical and constitutional complications will be dealt with. That nothing will prevent the sentence from being executed. That sends a powerful message. It says that presidential accountability isn't just theoretical. It's real. It can actually happen. Presidents can actually face arrest and incarceration if they commit crimes. The constitutional structure allows for it. The legal system can handle it. Point 4. This decision establishes a precedent that will affect how future presidents understand the limits on their power and their vulnerability to legal accountability. Before this moment, presidential accountability was largely theoretical. Sure, presidents could be prosecuted in theory, but had it ever actually happened? No. So there was always doubt about whether the system would really hold a president accountable. Trump's case is removing that doubt. The system is working. Courts are willing to convict presidents, to sentence them, to arrest them if necessary. That reality changes the calculations future presidents make. They can't assume they'll escape consequences for criminal conduct. They can't rely on their position to protect them. They have to actually follow the law, because the alternative is real prosecution and real punishment. Point 5. Trump's visible panic and his team's shock in the courtroom show that they genuinely didn't expect to lose this decisively. Despite all the legal defeats leading up to this moment, despite analysts saying Trump's position was weak, Trump and his lawyers apparently believed they'd find a way out, that some judge somewhere would give them a break, that the Supreme Court would intervene, that something would happen to save them. And when Judge McConnell rejected the appeal and the Supreme Court refused to help, that reality shattered. The shock on their faces, the chaos in the courtroom, the scrambling to figure out what to do next. All of it showed that they weren't prepared for this outcome, that they'd been living in denial about how weak their legal position really was. That denial is dangerous because it means Trump isn't mentally prepared for what's coming. He genuinely thought he'd escape, and now he's being confronted with the reality that he won't. That could lead to more erratic behavior, more outbursts, more attempts to disrupt proceedings, which will only make his situation worse. So, what's the bottom line here? Judge McConnell rejected Trump's final appeal. The Supreme Court unanimously refused to intervene. Immediate sentencing is scheduled for later this week. Trump could be arrested and jailed within days. There are no more legal escape routes, no more appeals, no more delays. Trump is out of options and facing immediate consequences. The courtroom erupted when the ruling was announced because everyone understood the finality of it. This is really happening. Trump is really being held accountable. The unanimous Supreme Court decision eliminates any claim of judicial bias. Judge McConnell's order for immediate action ends Trump's delay strategy. The guarantee of arrest if sentencing includes incarceration creates unprecedented challenges, but also establishes that presidential accountability is real. This moment will be remembered as the turning point, the moment when it became clear that no one is above the law, not even a president. Trump committed crimes. He was convicted. His appeals were rejected, and now he's facing immediate sentencing and possible arrest. That's how the system is supposed to work. That's accountability and action, and it's happening in the most public, most dramatic way possible. Trump's decades of escaping consequences are over. His legal tricks have failed. His delayed tactics have been exhausted. His final appeal has been rejected. An immediate arrest is guaranteed if his sentence includes incarceration. Within days, we'll know Trump's sentence. We'll know if he's going to jail. We'll see if a sitting president can actually be arrested. And the whole world is watching, because this moment matters, not just for Trump, but for the principle that in America, everyone is subject to the law, that no position, no matter how powerful, puts you above justice, that accountability is real. Trump is about to learn that lesson the hardest way possible. And the country is going to witness it happen in real time.